Hello everyone, welcome back to the workshop. Today I want to talk about my recent trip to Spain. For those of you that have followed the channel, you'll know that I was going to do some off-roading on the Trans-Euro Trail on my CRF 250. And the history of that, of course, is that I'd never done any off-roading apart from one day doing a Yamaha off-road experience about two and a half years ago. And I wanted to do some trails in Spain, but I didn't have a bike suitable for doing it. So I bought a 2013 CRF 250L, which 2 weeks before I was due to go got nicked. So I bought another one, knowing that the insurance company would pay up, and I then prepared the bike ready to go. So the plan was get the ferry from UK to Santander, go and do some trails and come back the same route. Now in the autumn and in the winter there are few ferries that go from the UK to Spain, and so therefore my the period that I was due to be in Spain was going to be determined by when I could get out there and what date I could get back, you know, according to the ferry schedules. So I was watching the weather quite carefully in Spain, because what I didn't want to do was go down there and it would be lashing with rain for 10 days and it would be just awful. You know, my idea of doing the trails is not to be knee deep in mud. If I wanted to do that, I'd stay in England, but I didn't want to do that. So I left UK on the 20th of October, and my plan was I was going to be on the ferry for 2 days, and the plan was to go to a place called Potes, which is roughly in the middle of the Picos mountains in the north of Spain, and use that as a base. Now this is a very, very different method of travelling that I've taken on, because my typical MO is to go on a journey. So, you know, I'll spend every night in a different place and I'll know where I'm going. I won't necessarily know where I'm staying or how I'm going to get there, but I know where I'm going to be going. Whereas this, because I was very unsure of how this whole thing was going to work, I thought the best thing I should do is stay in one place and then ping out and do trips from this central base. Bearing in mind I've got absolutely no experience of this whatsoever. So I downloaded the TET GPX files onto a rugged phone that I had bought specially for the occasion, an article made by Blackview, which was very, very good, it has to be said. And then I overlaid the GPX files with an app called Osmond. There are various apps you can get which do broadly the same thing in maybe a slightly different way. I didn't know which one to use. People, a bit like reviews on Amazon, you know, some people will say, oh, this one's the best I've ever seen, and someone else will say it's absolute rubbish. But I had no experience, so I tried Osmond. It worked for me, and so that's what I stuck with. So I downloaded the GPX files, overlaid the bit I wanted to travel on with the Osmond thing, and it worked fine. So arrived in Santander. I can't remember what time. Oh, it was early in the morning, on something like the 22nd of October. And I set off, and I basically had told the Osmond map navigator that I wanted to do route 8 of the GPX files. Okay, if you're completely unfamiliar with TET files, they're broken down into sections. You can reverse the route if you want to, and you basically you just download the section that you want to do. And well, that's what I did. I mean, I'm sure you can do it in other ways, but that's what I did. So I knew that section 8 would take me from the ferry to where I could join route 7, which was going to take me west towards Potes, which is where my hotel was located. So obviously I'm mildly anxious. Okay, never done this before, don't know how the navigator's going to work. It started working and it was fine. It worked well, and that gave me confidence. So I got to the end of Route 8 where it intersected with Route 7, and it took me a little while to work out just where I needed to go on Route 7. But anyway, after about 10 minutes of faffing, I decided I was going to go in this particular direction, and it turned out to be right. And bearing in mind, all this time, everything I've done so far has been on road. So I've gone from the ferry about 30 or 40 kilometres, all on road, to intersect with Route 7. And Route 7, I'm hoping, is going to take me off-road, because that's the whole point of this. Anyway, I'm following Route 7, and we go for, I don't know, 5, 6, 7 kilometres, and we start going through this village, and then we start going up into the mountains. And of course, we end up on a dirt track. And this is my first experience of off-road riding of any significance. And so anyway, the hill is steep. It's rough, quite challenging. One of the characteristics of riding in the mountains, certainly where I was riding, was there's a hell of a lot of hairpins, and the surface is rough. Big chunky bits of gravel. I mean, small gravel's fine, because small gravel doesn't roll very far. When you're on gravel where the pieces are the size of your fist, if that moves, it moves quite a long way. And some of the corners, I mean, literally you're on a hairpin and you're standing up and you're trying to negotiate this hairpin and keeping momentum, bearing in mind it's steep. The roads are steep. Anyway, I went along through some trails, through some forests, and it was fine. And then eventually, of course, you get to the top of the mountain. You keep going up and up and up and up and up, and you get to the top of the mountain. And it was amazing. I mean, it was absolutely incredible. I enjoyed it enormously. Had no idea what to expect, but the navigation system worked brilliantly, and I did like it a lot. Anyway, you'll ride a trail, then you'll come to a section of road which then joins you onto the next trail. You might do 3 or 4 kilometres or even 20 kilometres to get to the next bit of trail. And at some point, it was around 1 p.m. I happened upon a bit of tarmac section, and I came into a small village, and there was a bar there which had a menu of the day. So I thought, that's fine, perfect timing, I'll stop for lunch. Stopped there for lunch, had a most amazing meal. Like I had a bean soup to start with, which was a meal in itself, and then I had basically egg chips and egg bacon and chips, although obviously it was the Spanish version, so it was substantial. And then I did dessert, and I had a small beer and some water and a coffee, and it cost me €13, which is mental. And it was gorgeous, absolutely gorgeous. And then I set off, carried on doing Route 7, always going westwards. And at about 3:30, I thought, well, I'm just going to see where I am in relation to Potes, because that's where my hotel is, and I don't want to find that. I mean, for all I knew, I could have passed Potes. I didn't know really where I was until I stopped and looked at my phone to see where I was on Google Maps. Anyway, I looked at the thing, and it said that I was 2 hours from Potes. Like, I needed to go a further 2 hours west. So it was about 3:30. I thought, I'll call it a day, and then what I'll do tomorrow is I'll come back here to pick up the trail again. And that's what I did. So I'll just show you on the map roughly where I was going. So, Santander. Ooh. Right, start again. Santander, where the ferry went in, I rode roughly around here before I picked up Route 7. So Route 8 took me round here, and then Route 7. Now, Potes is all the way over here. I don't know where I was when I stopped, but, I was probably somewhere around here, and I'd ridden sort of through the mountains somewhere around here, and I was about an hour and a half, 2 hours from Potes. So I went on road down to Potes, and then I picked it up the next day. So, bloody map. I thought I'd show you the map because people have said to me in the past, show us the map. Next day, went back, picked up the route again, did some more, and I ended up in Potes because actually the Route 7 goes through Potes and actually through past the hotel I was staying at. Then the next day I carried on Route 7 and I went up into the Picos Mountains. Absolutely beautiful, amazing trails. I mean, really amazing. I mean, one of the things that you know, as you're riding in the mountains, I mean, first of all, I didn't see very many people. I found on day 2 I came upon a group of Spanish motorcyclists doing a bit of off-road riding. There was 4 of them, and they'd stopped to do some maintenance on one of the bikes. And after that, apart from a French couple I saw in an off-road camper van, I didn't really see anyone. I mean, people said to me, I mean, the Spanish guys said, "Are you on your own?" And I said yes, and they said, "Well, you need to be really careful because the trails here are really, you know, they're tricky," and they were tricky. Certainly compared to some of the TET trails, which are really like, you know, they could almost be classified as a road. They just happen to be gravel. I mean, I'm sure there's worse ones, but the ones I rode were challenging. Let's put it that way. I mean, even for an experienced rider, I'm sure they'd be challenging. You come upon loads of wildlife, loads of cows, a lot of cows grazing on the mountains, horses. There was quite a lot of sheepdogs, and I'm not talking like lassie. I mean these big Spanish mountain sheepdogs that would take your arm off as soon as you look at you. I mean, they are big dogs, and their job is to protect the lambs and the goats, whatever it is they're looking after. And if they feel that you're a threat to them, they will attack you. I got chased, I think, 3 times by dogs and accelerated away from them. But I mean, you know, if you get attacked by a dog and another dog comes along and joins in, then you're in trouble. You know, even with your off-road gear on, you're in trouble. So anyway, I can't remember whether it was day 4 or day 5, but I ended Route 7 and I went on to Route 6, which continued further east. And it was on Route 6 that I fell off the bike for the first time. I was going round a trail. I suppose I was feeling confident. I think it was a combination of fatigue, because it's bloody hard work. I mean, that's the other thing actually to bear in mind. And I remember seeing this on a video that, you know, that I watched in anticipation of doing this trip. You know, this chap said you need to be physically fit, and he's bloody right. You know, if you've got a job to get your leg over a bike, or you've got a beer belly the size of a pumpkin, then you're going to struggle. You need to have good core strength, and you need to be physically fit, very fit, to do this. It's very hard work, and at the end of the day, you're knackered. You know, if you do sort of 50, 80 miles off-road riding, that's a lot, and you're bloody exhausted when you don't. You know, I mean, you know, I'm not a Dakar rider. I mean, I'm physically pretty fit, but you know, to do it. But so yeah, I fell off. I had one fall on the whole trip, and it was just I mean, I was going at walking pace. It was on one of these hairpin bends, and I misjudged something, and the bike fell, and I basically fell into a hedge. And then it took me sort of 5 minutes to get or 10 minutes to get the bike out of the brambles, and then I set off again. And it was actually later the next day when I was on another mountain, and I'd been riding, going up this trail, and I went into the cloud, because I mean the mountains are high. You know, you could be at 5,000 or 6,000 feet, and I went into cloud, and I was on a pretty rough track, and visibility was very, very poor, and that was the only time that I thought to myself, I hope nothing happens now, because if it does, there was no evidence on the trail of recent recent vehicles, and it did strike me that that was a fairly dodgy place to be on your own. Another thing that was quite interesting was there was a hell of a lot of vultures around, and usually when I was riding, and I suspect the vultures were looking down on me thinking, "Yeah, Bert, that one looks like he's vulnerable, could be lunch." And it sure as heck felt like that. Beautiful animals. I mean, these birds are just magnificent creatures. But there was always quite a lot of them circling overhead, which I found mildly disconcerting, has to be said. Anyway, I had a day of absolute lashing rain in Potes, so I didn't go out. I just went for a walk in Potes. And then the rest of the time it was mixed weather. Some of it was dry, some there was rain. What I found was that if you stayed north of the mountains, it was a hell of a lot warmer than if you went over into the south. As soon as you went over the mountains to the south of the Picos range, it got bloody cold. I remember being in where was it? Riaño. Pardon me, because there was a cafe there that I'd been to a few times on previous trips, and I knew they'd serve a nice hot cup of tea. So I went there, and it was something like 8 degrees. And when I went back to Potes over the top, it was 24 degrees, and lovely, sunny and warm, and you could almost sunbathe. It was really, really lovely. And then, of course, it came to an end. So I, on my last day, the ferry wasn't going till something like 11 p.m. They delayed it because of bad weather. There was a massive storm in the Bay of Biscay, which it led to an extremely uncomfortable journey back. But I decided I was going to go and try and look at some of the lakes more on the east side. I'll show you where I went, and I won't knock the map over. So, Potes is here, okay, and then Riaño is over here. You basically just go up this road over this Puerto de San Glorio, which is bloody high, 1,675 metres, which is like over 5,000 feet, down to Riaño. There was a garage there where I pressure washed the bike, and then my plan was to go down here towards Guardo, but stop and turn off up the P210. And this little white wiggly line you can see follows all of these lakes. It's really spectacularly beautiful, and no traffic. I mean, lovely roads, and I think if I saw 5 cars on the whole road, that was as many as I saw. And I stopped here at Cervera de Pisuerga or something for lunch. And I thought, well, it was about 1 o'clock, 1:30. I thought I'll stop there for lunch, because if I have a good lunch, I won't need to worry about anything else to eat. And I really struggled to find somewhere, but I found somewhere, and they served me a big sort of ironware, like a skillet, with chips in and fried eggs, 3 or 4 fried eggs, and these huge mushrooms that were bloody gorgeous, absolutely gorgeous. Anyway, I had all day, the boat wasn't leaving till 11, so I left there and I went all the way, wiggling all the way over here towards Espinosa de los Monteros, and then from here I went through the mountains, and I can't remember the exact route, but I think it was somewhere like this, the CA261, and then I ended up back at Santander, and of course back to Blighty. So a lot of this trip was about trying it for the first time. Do I like it? Do I want to do it again? I really, really enjoyed it. I was on my own, and that was fine. I'm used to touring on my own. I don't mind being on my own. I don't like being lonely, but I don't mind being on my own. And I really thoroughly enjoyed it, and I thought I want to do more of this, but I'd like to go further afield. I mean, I want to do a lot more in Spain. There's loads of trails in Spain, and I mean, I only scratched the surface. But I'd like to go further. I mean, there's some amazing trails in Bosnia and Croatia, where of course I was riding earlier in the year in those countries. But the thing is, if I want to get to Bosnia, I mean, it's 2,000 miles, roughly from the coast of France. So, and I do want to do that on a Honda CRF 250, and then just to get somewhere to ride some trails. Well, no, I bloody don't. So I thought, right, what I need to do is I need to reassess what sort of bike do I want to do this on. So I decided to sell the CRF 250, and it's now sold. And I've chopped in the Gas 700 Super Motard for a Husqvarna 701 Enduro. I've had it for about, I don't know, 2 weeks. I'm running it in at the moment. I've done about 450 miles on it so far. Lovely bike. I mean, very same engine as the Gas 700, so I'm familiar with the operation. It's a really nice bike, and this will give me a bit more potential for travelling further in order to get to the trails that I want to ride in the sort of the more Eastern European countries that I want to go to. So hopefully that'll be for next year. I've got a few ideas of what I want to do next year. I want to go back to Spain maybe in April time, and do some of the trails further south, Valencia, that sort of way. And then later in the year go over to Bosnia, Croatia, Slovenia, Czech Republic, those sort of places, which are countries that I absolutely love. So that's it really. There goes the map. Did I enjoy it? Yes, I did. Would I recommend it? Yes. If you're fit enough and you've got the right bike, and I'm talking about a light off-roader, yes, you can do it on a GS 1250, and if you're a Dakar rider, it'll be a breeze for you. I would not have wanted to do these trails on anything heavier than I was riding, and the Husqvarna weighs, I think, 5 kilos more than the CRF, so it's in the same ballpark. But if you've got the right bike and you've got the right fitness, then it'll be amazing, absolutely amazing. The scenery is absolutely spectacular. The wildlife is incredible. The food is cheap. It didn't cost me a fortune the whole trip. And of course the bike was super economical. I mean, it does 100 miles to the gallon. So that's it for now. Thank you for watching. I hope you enjoyed me rambling on. Sorry about the map interfering with things. And please subscribe if you're interested in listening to me talk. And I'll see you on the next one. So thanks very much for watching, and bye for now.